Saturdays at 10 a.m. United Textile Workers of America, Local Number 1936, Lloyd E. Brader. Secretary meets first and third Fridays at 8 p.m. You want me to turn the page?
Okay.
2119 Murphy Cooper, Secretary meets Saturday at 10 a.m. Arkwright Mills. United Textile Workers of America, Local 2145 Frank Dewberry, Secretary meets Saturday at 10 a.m. on South Liberty. United Waste Company.
Oh. All right, you know what? They're just alphabetical. That's like something else. But the United Waste Company,
yeah,
that's not a union. They're garbage, and we know that that's what it must mean because there's a C. So if you could say everywhere else in the book, a C means that, you know, that they were colored. So this means there was a colored local.
United Textile Workers of America, Local Number 2145, parentheses, a C, which means colored. Frank Dewberry, Secretary, meets Saturdays at 10 a.m. at 511 and a half South Liberty at the United Waste Company. I guess.
So now in the city directory at that time, could you tell me what a C meant?
I would think it meant colored.
Could you say that? Could you say a C
The
meant...
C in Frank Dewberry, a C before Frank Dewberry's secretary meets. That C.
You can put the book down. You can look at me. Yeah.
The C it means colored, I would think.
That's how they used to mark things back in those days.
I guess so.
Well, I'm just floored that they would list themselves in the book because that means that they meant to stay around.
Mm-hmm. I like the textile union. The only thing I did not like it kept my husband away too long.
Now, what happened after the strike with your husband?
Well, after the strike, he had no job, so he got on with the WPA, making $15 a week, which was pretty good money back then, I guess. We could get 2 or 3 more Coca-Colas.
And then what happened? Then he was hired?
And Frank Gorman hired him because of his activity in the union as an organizer.
You could give me that book back. I'm going to ask her one more question and we're done.
I need
a
close-up of her turning.
Yeah. No, you know what? We just needed to be able to edit. That's all. Okay. So if you could just look at the very last one and then turn the page, that would be great. Do it just like, before when you were reading
with
it.
The finger.
You read it with your finger. You read it a little bit slowly. It was.
And then turn the page.
Right. I'll just like before. Yeah.
United Textile Workers of America, Local Number 1936, Lloyd E. Brader, Secretary, meets first and third Fridays at 8 p.m. on East Main Street, Route 4. What's that? United Textile Workers of America, Local Number 2119, Murphy Cooper, Secretary, meets Saturdays at 10 a.m. at Arkwright School. United Textile Workers of America, Local 2145, Frank Dewberry, secretary meets Saturdays at 10 a.m. at South Liberty Street.
That's
Great.
That's good. Thanks.
Made him believe in the union.
Well, he had to quit school in the 7th grade. And he went to work in a bakery for about a year. I guess he's 13 or 14. Then he got a job over in Spartan Mills. And I guess that laboring all over there just didn't satisfy his want it to be better.
George Waldrop told me a little story about, I guess it was John's father who had some lung problems, brown lung.
And what?
Is this right? George Waldrop was telling me that, I guess it was your father-in-law. He worked in Spartan
He
Mills
worked at
too?
Spartan Mill, lost a finger.
And it was did he turn the camera for a sec? Is this true?
Understand you?
You told me on the telephone when we spoke that that the people here, you know, that they not only did they have their own local unions, but they seemed to be connected. That all the local unions. I think your husband was real involved in that, wasn't he? Helping all the local unions be organized too.
I think so.
Could
That's where he's gone all the time.
yeah. Well, so it seems to me like your husband gave a great deal of himself to the community.
He did. He really did.
Too much, huh?
Well, I really appreciate what he did.
Well, I think everyone will appreciate what he did also. And
That what?
I think everyone will appreciate very much what he did also.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
So after the strike, he couldn't get his job back?
I don't know whether he just quit or they fired him. Seemed like he quit. I'm not sure.
But he couldn't get a job back at Spartan Mills?
He didn't get it back. He never did go back, rather.
Could you tell me that in one sentence? I mean, could you say, you know, after the strike, my husband didn't go back to work at Spartan Mills?
I could be wrong, but I don't think I am.
Okay.
After the strike, my husband didn't go back to the mill. And he got a job on the WPA. Oh, yeah.
And then, but he didn't lose his feeling about unionism.
Oh, no, he still had that textile union was his life. No, that's when Gorman hired him when he worked on the WPA. He jumped at the chance. We were sent to Richmond.
And did he do that for his life's work?
No, he stayed with the union until the head of the United Textile Worker, Valenti and Leonard, were president and vice president. They got the getting money out of the till, and doing personal things with it, and they had a big trial over that, and he quit. John did. He said it was getting too, wasn't like it ought to be run. And his last job was at the post office.
But he never. But did he So how long did he stay in the Spartanburg area, trying to keep these local unions going? Do you know?
That was before my children were born. In 47, I forgot what he did. He had several jobs afterwards, but people found out who he was a lot of time wouldn't hire him because he's an organizer.
So did what happened to him? I mean, did the 1934 strike sort of stay with him all those years?
Oh yeah, it did. That whole background of textiles. He still talked it.
Wow. Well, you really, really helped us out a great deal with that book because when you look, what does it make you think about?
Those listings in there.
When you saw that listing, yeah.
I really didn't know it was in there till you showed it to me. But they must have been awfully open with it. They didn't. They wouldn't let them put that in a book, would they?
When you looked through the list, did it bring back memories?
Oh, sure.
Can you talk about that a little?
I just remembered.
To look at your.
Oh, it didn't really. Just brought back memories of the different union. I mean, the locals. John was affiliated with a lot of them, I imagine. After that.
So that one thing that you said, just one thing again, is that here in Spartanburg, I guess they didn't have to be frightened at first. They could be public.
Mm-hmm. With the textile locals listed in the directory, I guess that means that Spartanburg was pretty open about the strikes and the unions.
Well, you know, at the time when they first put this in this book, there was a new law that was set up. You know, the NRA and the New Deal and the Blue Eagle. And this came right after all of that.
Yeah.
You know, and those laws said that people had the right to organize and to collective bargaining. So they were doing something that the country they thought was supporting. Well, so is there anything else that you might just want to add?
I wish I had some material that if I ever find any of it, I'll certainly let you know that you might be interested in.
Okay, well, I'd sure appreciate that. You were starting to tell me about your father's activity and what he's told you.
The only impact I think his activity in the union had on me is something he told me. When I first went into the workforce, he says, since I have the same name he had, don't let them know that I'm related to him because of the paranoia he had about getting hired or not hired based on his history in the union. So he said, don't tell them that you're related to me because they won't hire you. That's basically it. He didn't really get into any kind of stories about any of his union activities with me at all. But that one story about just don't tell them you're related to me in any way. You know, you remember something like that. And as you look back at it, now it's like coming in here today talking about it. You realize why. Even though it was real open here in Spartanburg, obviously he still had some paranoia about it.
You never mentioned it?
What?
You never mentioned that you were his son?
No, I never did. Not for that reason. Well, maybe so. Maybe it was that reason. But I never had the opportunity to not mention it.
Could you mention who your daddy? Could you?
Yeah, sure.
Would you mind? You don't mind telling me the story one more time, do you? Okay.
Sorry, one second.
Is that not sitting in? Could you say, no, my father John Pollard, he was an organizer. Just tell me a little bit about that, and then you could go in and tell me that what you
Okay.
didn't know or did know. Or
Can we just check tone for a second? Speed.
okay, as long as you just refer, you can just tell me that story again, but refer to your father, and then when your dad speaks, almost talk to me as if he's talking to
Okay.
you.
Okay. My father, John Pollard, was a union organizer, and one of the stories he told me as I entered the workforce here in Spartanburg was, don't mention that you're related to John Pollard, even though I have the same name, because you will not be hired. He said he was just paranoid about that. So and he mentioned it several times. Make sure you don't mention being related to John Pollard. You won't be hired. Said it will get you in trouble. So even though it never really caused me any problems getting hired anywhere, it's something you put in the back of your mind and always kind of take it out and look at it. And that's basically the only impact his affiliation with the labor organizing had any effect on me at all. That's the only thing I remember.
So what do you do now?
I work in textiles. So it's in the blood, I guess.
And what about the union part?
Well, the union part's kind of fizzled away in this area. You don't hear any talk about it at all. At least where I go, you don't. It's satisfy the workers.
They've raised.
You don't want them to have the union.
They make better money, a lot better.
Now, did you ever
I'm
hear?
sorry, can you? I wasn't on her.
Okay.
Can you say that again? Tell the truth.
What you telling me about Well, did you know why your husband warned John the way he did?
Because he knew the manufacturers knew him by his activity in the union. He was afraid that they wouldn't hire him.
What did you think about that?
I agreed that he ought not to tell them.
What did you and your husband tell your children and your son John about the union or about his activity in the 1930s?
Just the basic things, like he was president of the union, and he had a big part in the general strike.
You could even talk back and forth to each other a little bit. And could you say the things that I told my children, and then follow up like that?
You talking to him?
Well, I'm talking to you, but you could even ask her. Well, Mama, what did you tell us, or something?
What did he tell you that sunk in your mind? That,
Just basically that one story about don't mention my name. Beware. I remember one thing, a phone call that came in about 1954. You remember one day answering the phone, and it was somebody to do with, he was working for the labor organization at the time, and then he terminated his relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
Someone called him and said something. I was just 4 or 5 years old. And I remember you coming in and said, well, John's not working for the union organizers anymore. Do you remember anything about
That's
that?
been a long time ago.
Yeah. I remember like it was yesterday, the phone ringing in there.
Mm-hmm.
Who was it? Do you remember who it was?
Mm-hmm. I sure don't.
So the only thing that so did you know that your daddy was? Did you know that your father was so active?
No, didn't know that.
Could you tell me that part?
Well, I guess growing up, you get into the playing all the time. You just don't get into the adult side of things. At least I didn't. I didn't realize he was a union organizer up until that phone call, probably, and just barely realized it at that point.
Now that did you think about, you could even pick up this book. I mean, what did you think about seeing, this is the city phone book.
This is the city directory for Spartanburg County,
Yeah.
1934.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing how open it is. Publishing the Times and all. It is amazing.
If you open it to U, United, that's what your mama was looking at before.
To a U. I can't do it into a U until I have my glasses
If I
on.
take my shoes off, dear.
No.
Squeezing my foot. That wasn't on it.
To a U. Here we go. United Textile Workers. Yeah. It's amazing. Just like clubs meet at a certain time of day. So this is a rare thing, I understand. Yeah.
I bet you don't see one of it in the directory now. Not that they're not open about it, but I don't think there's that many.
It's not that much activity, I guess.
What do you think? I mean, what is that? Could you take your glasses off? Thanks. What do you think? The impact is of your father just warning you like that and not telling you other stories.
I think he was protecting me, maybe. Maybe that's what he was doing, protecting me from that side. I don't know. It had a certain impact on me, but just it makes you curious about it. And to this day, I guess I have not mentioned that I have been related to him. The opportunity has not come up for me to say, I'm John Pollard's son, he was a union organizer. I guess I've been wary of that. Beware.
Is this the first time you've ever said that publicly?
I don't know. Is this public?
Yeah, kinda. Could
Let's
be.
hope so. Yeah, I guess so. It's the first time I've even talked about it aloud. It's just beware. When your father says beware, you beware, I guess.
Do you think you have to be beware?
No, I don't think so.
I'm sorry, could you start that again?
Do you think you have to be frightened?
No, I don't think I'd be frightened at all. Not now. I shouldn't be frightened at all. It's just something he told me to do, and I guess I did it.
You have to be over that 1 or 2.
We've got 15 minutes.
Then where do you have to go?
Work. See the nurse.
Wow. I just can't believe your father, who had such a big presence here in Spartanburg, never told you about that part.
Yeah, I know.
Could you
Interesting.
Could you include my question in your answer?
Repeat it.
Yeah, in a way.
Repeat it for me,
You
please.
didn't ask
Oh.
the question. That's fine.
I'm saying, I'm trying to understand, I guess you answered it for me, but, here my father was real active, helped organize all these locals, his local Spartan Mills, all over Spartanburg.
I find it interesting.
So could you start again?
Sure.
Just checking tape.
Put it in your own words.
Okay,
though.
I find it very interesting that as active as my father was in unions or organizing in the county and wherever, he did not mention this to me. The only mention to me he made was, do not mention my name because of the certain problems you'll have in the workforce here. And that's basically the way I look back and see it. He didn't tell me any stories, maybe so I wouldn't repeat them. But beware, you have my name. But I don't think in this day and time I have to worry about stuff like that. But I work in the mill today.
What do you think is the impact of our parents not telling us the stories?
It's a stopgap in there. Storytelling is a very important thing. I think past the lineage or whatever on, you've got to tell stories. So this documentary will probably help fill the gap that was left. It's a very important thing to do. Storytelling is very important.
Just what about history? I mean,
Yeah, history itself is a story. And what's the old saying? The country that does not know its history is doomed to repeat it. I guess that goes for people, countries, towns, all kind of different levels. So storytelling is very important.
just here, I mean, you have more access to this history than almost anyone I've ever met.
This is true. However, the interest doesn't seem to be there for me.
Well, somebody told you not to be interested.
Yeah, probably so. Don't be interested in this.
Could you, the part of that I said, that part of that my sentence that I said before about here, you know, I mean, and I had more access to most, I don't know, you know, if you want to repeat that, if you could in some way.
Here I am in a place that's got, I have access to more history in the textiles in most areas than maybe based on what my father told me to, or didn't tell me. The interest for me is not in the history of the textiles, it's in other things. It's stay away from this, beware of dog, I don't know.
Thank you so much. Is there anything before we turn everything off that you, are you surprised that we came here?
Well, if you knew my father, no. No, he had a lot of charisma. You expect things like this. You're just a little bit late. You missed him, what, 2 years? How long has he been dead?
3 years.
Very interesting guy. Very interesting guy. Fun guy to be around.
Would your father have talked to us?
Yeah, you couldn't have shut him up. He's a very talkative person, very open person. He would really talk to you.
But if your father had talked to us, then maybe then the Mills would have known who your dad was.
Well, that's okay. At this point in time, I don't think it's important.
So when was it that your father told you?
When I was about 18, 19, I went to work out of high school. And at that point, I went to work for a big mill in town, for Roger Milliken. And he was very specific about me not mentioning his name or me being kin to him at that time. And Roger Milliken is a big, powerful organization here in town, worldwide, I believe. So I said, beware. So I did. I was.
Are you still?
I guess I am. I guess I am. Maybe I won't be after today.
I'm going to ask you this on camera. I mean, we really are going to try to put this on television. So everybody's going to know, but everybody's going to know who your daddy was.
That's fine.
Do you want audio tape? I ran out.
No, I don't care.
Okay.
Let's go for the last minute. Is it okay? Why is today different?
Makes you look at it, face your past, look at it. Look at yourself in the mirror.
What, do you mean recording with us?
Just bringing it up,
Could you
talking
say
about
that?
it. The presence of you here today makes me look at things that happened in the past, in particular, my father mentioning to me not to mention his name. And, I've always wondered why, but today maybe I can say, well, why not? I have nothing to fear. It's just I guess he had so much that I'm not aware of to be aware of, that I do not need to be aware of.
Did he have things that you could have been proud of?
Oh, I'm sure, but a lot of the things he did not share with me.
He went to work at the post office, and I guess he's up in his 50s, but he looked all over town for a job and couldn't find one.
Why not?
Why not? Did he couldn't find one? I don't know if the union had anything to do with it or not.
you have anything to ask your mama?
No, not that I haven't asked her 1,000 times. I guess.
Do you have anything to ask your daddy?
No, I ask him every day. Stuff. You know.